The problem with galactic diplomacy, Sergeant Elias Ward decided, was that nobody ever printed a manual titled asterisk, "So you've ruined interstellar history." He knew this because he had searched. He had searched while alarms screamed in 12 languages, while drones zipped past his head projecting red emergency sigils, and while a royal physician stood in front of him with the calm expression of someone announcing mild weather instead of societal collapse. "Congratulations," the physician had said. "Sir," Elias had replied automatically because when confronted with doom, salute it. The physician blinked both sets of eyelids. "You misunderstand the scale, Sergeant. This is congratulations with capital letters, possibly fireworks, possibly riots. I didn't authorize riots. History rarely asks. That had been 6 minutes ago." Now the Palace Network kept replaying the same sentence, translated, verified, re-verified, then wrapped in ceremonial music as if that helped. "The Queen is with child. Genetic cross-index confirms human origin." Elias pressed his forehead gently against the nearest wall. "I was on security duty." "Yes," said the physician kindly. "You secured the future." "I was guarding a door. A very productive door." Across the corridor, officials ran in mathematically precise panic. Advisors argued into floating consoles. Somewhere, a military attaché fainted with aristocratic grace. Elias considered joining him, but suspected he would be asked to fill out paperwork on the way down. None of this made sense. Last night had involved a reception, 3 speeches, an argument about whether humans required gravity to behave, and a ceremonial exchange of Unity beverages that had tasted like citrus, lightning, and regret. The Queen had been brilliant, composed, her long ears angled in constant awareness, catching every whisper in the hall. She had asked him questions. What did humans fear most? Why did they volunteer for distant wars? Was it true they named spacecraft after animals that could not survive space? He had answered honestly. Then he remembered laughing. After that, history apparently took notes and sprinted. A drone stopped in front of his face and projected the Queen's seal. "Sergeant Elias Ward," it chimed, "you are requested for immediate presence." "I request to be somewhere else," he said, denied with admiration. "Of course." He followed the drone, legs moving with the doomed dignity of a man marching toward a meeting that would be studied by future textbooks titled asterisk, "How did this happen?" Every screen he passed carried analysts already debating him. Some called him infiltrator, some miracle. One commentator declared humanity a biological superpower and demanded sanctions on flirting. Elias pointed at that one. "I object." No one heard him except a maintenance robot which displayed sympathy in the form of a small shrug. At the final door, the physician caught up, still serene. "You should understand, Sergeant, Her Majesty is not angry." "That's worse. She is curious." Elias exhaled. "About you, us, everything after today." The doors opened. The Queen waited with the stillness of gravity. Power moved around her like it paid rent. She regarded him, and those long ears tilted slightly forward, attentive, analytical, not unkind. "Sergeant Ward," she said. He performed the neatest bow in human history, mostly because his knees threatened mutiny. "Your Majesty, I believe I owe you an apology, several explanations, and possibly a galaxy." A pause, then incredibly her mouth curved. "I have advisors for the galaxy," she said. "What I require, Sergeant, is the man who helped create my child." Helped, such a gentle word, like he had held a door open for destiny. Behind him, someone dropped a data slate. Outside, fleets repositioned, markets convulsed, priests revised eternity. Elias cleared his throat. "Ma'am, is there still time to blame the drinks?" Her ears twitched with unmistakable amusement. "No," the Queen said softly, "but I appreciate your optimism." And somewhere in the vast machinery of civilization, the future leaned closer to listen. They gave him a chair. Sergeant Elias Ward distrusted it immediately. In his experience, chairs offered by empires were never just chairs. They were metaphors, traps, or promotions disguised as furniture. He stood beside it, hands behind his back, while half the known galaxy tried very hard not to stare at him and failed heroically. "Please sit," said the High Chancellor. "With respect," Elias replied, "I've seen how this goes. I sit, and suddenly I'm responsible for trade agreements." A ripple of restrained coughing traveled across the chamber. Someone muted a translator that had begun rendering it as the human resists authority by remaining vertical. The Queen watched him with composed fascination. Her long ears angled toward him, catching every tremor in his voice, every stubborn flicker of humor he used the way other soldiers used armor. You are already responsible, she said gently. Yes, ma'am, he said. I was hoping to be demoted back to door. There were representatives everywhere, hovering, glowing, folded into portable atmospheres, projected from light years away with expressions calibrated for diplomacy and panic. Military observers pretended not to be military observers. Religious delegates tried to look prophetic instead of seasick. On the central display, the words rotated in endless, terrible dignity. Succession anomaly. Cross-species inheritance probable, political reality updating. Elias pointed at it. Could we not use the word anomaly, maybe something friendlier, surprise, unexpected gift, clerical whoopsie? No, said three governments simultaneously. A legal scholar drifted forward, wrapped in ceremonial equations. Sergeant Ward, we must establish intention. I intended, Elias said carefully, to survive the evening. Murmurs. Rapid note-taking. Somewhere a think tank achieved enlightenment. The scholar tried again. Did you seek influence over the throne? I can barely influence vending machines. That is in the record now, someone whispered. The queen lifted a hand and the noise folded into silence. Authority radiated from her, ancient and precise. When she spoke, entire histories leaned in. You are asking the wrong question, she said. A few delegates looked personally attacked. The event has occurred, she continued. Intent no longer governs consequence. We will instead discuss protection. A military projection brightened. Protection from whom, Your Majesty? She did not look away from Elias. From everyone, she said, that landed. Elias felt it settle onto his shoulders, heavy as a planet and somehow shaped like a cradle. He swallowed. Ma'am, permission to speak honestly. I insist upon it. I'm a soldier. I fix immediate problems. Incoming fire, broken lines, existential nonsense with sharp teeth. This, he gestured toward the galaxy having a collective crisis. This is above my pay grade and possibly above math. A diplomat leaned toward another. Is he always like this? Yes, Elias said without looking. We have satellites. A flicker of laughter slipped through the chamber before anyone could arrest it. The queen regarded him, weighing courage in units older than war. You believe you are unprepared. I believe I should come with a warning label. Too late, muttered an aide. She rose, movement and the future rearranged its posture. Sergeant Elias Ward, she said, voice carrying through translators, implants, bones. You stand at the center of fear because you are unfamiliar. You stand at the center of hope for the same reason. He blinked. That seems inefficient. History often is. Around them, messages cascaded, fleet adjustments, market halts, emergency councils requesting a piece of tomorrow. The unborn child had become gravity and everyone else was learning to orbit. Elias drew a breath. What do you need from me, ma'am? Not symbol, not scandal, me. Her ears tilted forward again, softer now. Stand with me, she said, simple, impossible. He nodded anyway because that was what humans did when the universe handed them terror wearing a crown. Yes, Your Majesty, he said, but if anyone asks, I'm still blaming the drinks. This time the laughter broke containment, and somewhere beyond the chamber walls, admirals recalculated war into something far more complicated. By the third day, the galaxy had discovered lawyers. They arrived in fleets. Some came physically, stepping out of shuttles with expressions that suggested they build by the heartbeat. Others appeared as towering legal projections, robes woven from precedent, eyes glittering with profitable concern. One delegation manifested entirely as a contract and demanded diplomatic seating. Sergeant Elias Ward watched them pour into the capital network and considered faking his own translation error. Maybe they'll think I'm decorative, he muttered. They already tried, said the aide beside him. 3 empires have requested custody. Of me. Temporarily for interpretation. I'm not a historical footnote. Congratulations, the aide said, checking her slate. You are now a chapter. Across the chamber, representatives argued about genetics, sovereignty, and whether a baby could technically own mineral rights. A corporation submitted a polite inquiry about brand partnerships. Several ancient houses produced family trees and tried to graft humanity onto them like an enthusiastic disease. Elias raised a hand. I would like it noted I did not ask to be adopted by 12 warlords. 14, the aide corrected. 2 are pending. The queen listened. That was the terrifying part. She listened while civilizations performed intellectual gymnastics dangerous enough to require helmets. Her long ears tilted, absorbing strategy, greed, terror, hope. She missed nothing. A scholar of dynastic law floated forward. Your Majesty, tradition states the heir must be raised within cultural purity. Define purity, she said. The scholar hesitated. Unmixed lineage, stable heritage. Elias brightened. Great news, humans are extremely mixed. We've been practicing chaos for thousands of years. Several translators stalled, unsure whether to render that as pride or confession. A military attaché projected casualty probabilities tied to succession disputes. Without controlled guardianship, conflict likelihood rises to 87%. 82, another corrected. If we assassinate the rumor, please do not assassinate concepts, Elias said. They multiply. Someone added that to policy notes. The Queen finally spoke and the room reorganized around her voice. You are treating my child as territory, she said. Silence. A few delegates attempted dignified shame and nearly achieved it. This discussion will shift, she continued. From ownership to future stability, a corporate envoy raised a glowing appendage. We can provide stability packages. Elias leaned toward the aide. If they try to sponsor the birth, I'm defecting. Too late, she whispered. You're trending. Of course he was. His military file had already been reclassified from asterisk reliable to cosmically inconvenient asterisk. Commentators debated his posture. A historian released a lecture titled Asterisk, the Fertility Event and the Collapse of Predictability Asterisk. Somewhere, a betting pool existed regarding whether he would faint before lunch. He straightened stubbornly. No fainting, he told himself. The scholar rallied. Your Majesty, interstellar balance requires shared authority. Shared, she repeated. Yes, oversight committees, educational mandates, ideological guidance. Elias coughed. That sounds like kidnapping with better grammar. Half the chamber tried not to laugh. The Queen's gaze flicked toward him, gratitude hidden inside royal composure. My child will learn many cultures, she said, but they will not be carved into pieces to comfort you. A murmur rolled outward, uncomfortable and necessary. Data flared across every display. Economists warning of instability, admirals whispering mobilization. Activists calling the unborn life a bridge, a blasphemy, a miracle, a scheduling conflict. Elias felt the weight of it press in. Ma'am, he said quietly, they're scared. Yes, she replied. So am I. Her ears angled toward him, gentler than the galaxy deserved. Good, she said. Only fools are fearless. A pause stretched. Then Elias did what humans did best in the presence of cosmic dread. He tried humor. Well, he said, if we survive the lawyers, maybe we can survive history. Unexpectedly, the Queen smiled. Sergeant, she said, history is afraid of me. Around them, arguments resumed, but something had shifted, not solved. Not healed, aligned, the future was still a storm, but now it had witnesses who intended to stand in it. The aide checked her slate again and groaned. What? Elias asked. 3 more empires want visitation rights. He closed his eyes. Do any of them come with cake? No. Then deny aggressively. And for a fragile moment in the roaring center of galactic uncertainty, someone laughed instead of reaching for war. By the 6th day, people had stopped arguing about whether the future would change. They were now arguing about who got to survive it. Sergeant Elias Ward learned this from a threat assessment that politely informed him he was currently the most inconvenient man alive. The document came with color coding, projected trajectories, and a helpful suggestion that he avoid being anywhere. I can do that, he said. I will heroically be nowhere. That is not an actionable location, replied the security intelligence. Work with me. Across the palace network, emergency protocols unfolded like nervous origami, ships repositioned under the excuse of routine drills. Communications thickened with coded concern. Every government swore it wanted peace in the same tone usually reserved for loading cannons. And somewhere in the middle of it all, the Queen was trying to eat. Elias stood beside her assigned table while physicians, diplomats, and alarm systems attempted to behave normally and failed with spectacular creativity. I apologize, said the chief physician, glaring at a diagnostic halo. Your nutritional algorithms have become specific. The Queen remained dignified. How specific? The physician inhaled. We require wheat, citrus, sodium levels common to coastal Earth regions, and something translated as crunchy nostalgia. Elias blinked. Ma'am, that might be a fried snack. Acquire it, she said calmly. Within minutes, procurement fleets were mobilizing with the seriousness of holy war. An aide rushed in. Your Majesty, extremist channels are escalating. Several groups claim the child represents dilution, invasion, destiny theft. Yes, Elias said, I read the pamphlet's very dramatic fonts. The aide stared. How are you joking? I am extremely fragile, he replied. This is structural support. The Queen's ears tilted, betraying a flicker of warmth. Report, she told the aide. 2 assassination plots disrupted, 1 disinformation wave suggesting humans reproduce via espionage, and a market crash in ceremonial inheritance bonds. Elias rubbed his face. I did not mean to bankrupt tradition. Tradition, the Queen said, has reserves. Another alert pulsed through the chamber, defensive grids tightening. Patrols expanding. Somewhere far away, a fleet commander made a decision he would later describe as reluctant and inevitable. Elias felt it like pressure behind the eyes. They're going to keep coming, he said. Yes, she answered. Because of me, because of fear, she corrected. He looked at her. I started it. You participated, she said. History did the rest. Fair, he tried again. Permission to stand closer. You are my guard, she replied. I know, ma'am. I just recently upgraded from decorative scandal to strategic necessity. She almost laughed. Almost. Royal composure saved itself at the last second. A scientist burst into the network, hologram trembling with excitement. New projections, hybridization may produce cognitive bridges between species frameworks. Diplomatic empathy increases by measurable percentages. A general leaned toward another. Can we weaponize empathy? Elias pointed. Absolutely not. Someone recorded it anyway. The physician returned triumphant, holding a sealed container like sacred treasure. We have obtained the Earth item. What is it? The Queen asked. Elias peered at the label. He began to laugh. Ma'am, he said carefully, the galaxy has mobilized 3 fleets to deliver pickles. A silence followed, vast and offended. Then, disastrously, the Queen's ears tipped forward and her control broke. Laughter escaped her, quick, bright, unstoppable. Every recording system in existence decided this moment would live forever. Outside, conspiracies plotted purity, admirals weighed risks, economies trembled. Inside, an empire watched its ruler laugh over something small, human, absurd. Elias exhaled, tension cracking. Worth it, he said. She met his gaze, still smiling, and for a heartbeat the noise of the universe reduced to something survivable. Sergeant, she said, they believe this child will transform power. Yes, ma'am, they are wrong, he frowned, they are. It will transform people, she said. Another alert flared, another crisis assembling teeth. Elias adjusted his stance, feeling terror, responsibility, and a strange, stubborn hope locked together. Then we'd better keep them alive long enough to notice, he said. She nodded. And beyond the palace, the storm gathered, louder, closer, and increasingly confused by the sound of laughter. On the 12th day, the galaxy stopped pretending it could go back. Emergency channels quieted. Fleets held position, which in military language meant everyone was still absolutely terrified, but trying to look mature about it. Analysts retired several dramatic predictions and replaced them with cautious hope, which sold fewer headlines but caused fewer invasions. Sergeant Elias Ward stood beside the Queen and reviewed the latest summary. Assassination attempts, he asked. None active, said the Intelligence Corps. Several groups have rebranded as concerned relatives. I hate how fast politics evolves. Survival pressure, the Corps replied pleasantly. Across the network, delegations waited, not with weapons, with proposals, education exchanges, cultural accords, medical collaborations. The word asterisk custody had begun quietly dying, replaced by asterisk participation. It wasn't perfect. It was possible. Elias felt that like sunrise inside his ribs. The Queen remained composed, but he had learned the language of her ears now. The subtle angles, the private currents of worry, resolve, disbelief at how strange fate could be. She did not need to speak for him to understand the weight she carried. Ma'am, he said softly, permission to say something reckless? You have never required permission. Fair. I remember the first day, he continued. I wanted a manual, a transfer witness protection from destiny. And now, she asked, he considered, now I want a future that survives meeting us. A pause, her approval was quiet, but it was there. The physician entered the link, radiant with triumph and several academic awards already preemptively attached. Your Majesty, the final stabilization metrics are excellent. Genetic harmonics holding, development optimal. A diplomat interrupted, breathless. 17 systems have signed the Cooperative Lineage Pact. 21, corrected another voice. The others are pretending they thought of it first. Elias nodded. Classic. The doors opened for the assembly broadcast. Worlds watched. Species who had spent centuries perfecting mistrust leaned toward their screens, uncertain whether they were about to witness salvation or the most elaborate mistake ever attempted. Elias felt the old fear rise. It did not control him this time. The queen stepped forward. Authority followed, ancient and newly remade. "You have all asked what this child will become," she said. Millions of signals went silent. "They will be born into argument," she continued, "into expectation, into your hunger to claim or condemn." Elias folded his hands behind his back, steady. "They will instead belong to tomorrow," she said. Data cascaded outward, the pact terms, shared protections, mutual defense not of territory but of life. Scientists releasing research freely, trade routes opening. Militaries retasked as guardians of corridors rather than conquerors, not miracles, decisions, an admiral transmitted voice rough. "We will stand down." A rival answered, "We will stand with." It spread, not everywhere, not instantly. Enough. Elias let out a breath he had been holding for days. "Ma'am," he murmured, "I think we might actually pull this off." Her ears tilted toward him, bright with emotion she no longer bothered hiding. "We already have," she said. The physician made a small, startled sound. "Your Majesty," every system leaned closer. Elias braced, soldier again, but different now, not a man trying to escape history, a man choosing it. A new signal entered the network, small, furious, magnificently alive. For a heartbeat, no one spoke. Then the galaxy exhaled, crying filled the link, not fear, beginning. Elias laughed, the sound breaking out of him like light through armor. "Okay," he said, voice shaking. "Okay,